guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, there's potential of Terence Crawford leaving Top Rank and talking about making a fight with Pacquiao, and he actually says that the Spence fight will never happen. He says that the Spence fight will never happen. I'm looking for a fight with Pacquiao. It's quite sad. It's quite sad that we're hearing talk like this from Errol, from Terence Crawford. I think it's probably down to the fact that I think Terence Crawford would be willing to be the he'd be willing to be the B-side against Pacquiao just because Pacquiao's a legend. Whereas I think he feels that no, I think the Spence fight is a fight where he feels he's accomplished more. He's a 3-weight world champion, a former undisputed 140-pound champion, and he's not going to give in to a 60-40. There's no way that fight happens at 60-40. It just isn't going to happen at 60-40. I don't see it happening. I just don't see how Terence Crawford would agree to a 60-40 split in Errol Spence's favour. He won't accept it. Whereas I think he would be more willing to accept that split with Pacquiao, or maybe even take less with Pacquiao, because I think he knows that Pacquiao is the A side in every fight just because Pacquiao's Pacquiao. Whereas I think he looks at Errol Spence and thinks that, why does this guy deserve more than me? I've achieved more than him. Just because he's a unified champion don't mean anything. And I agree with Terence Crawford. I feel on the overall, I think he's achieved more than Errol Spence in the sport of boxing. I think Terence Crawford deserves a 50-50 as far as I'm concerned. But if Errol Spence wants to bite down and say no 60-40, then I don't think the fight happens. And I think it would be very greedy for Errol Spence to ask for 60-40 by not giving the fans what they want, because I think both of them are going to get paid well even if they ask for 50-50. Or what I wouldn't mind is for the winner to say, okay, we'll go 60-40 to the winner. So the winner gets 60% and the loser gets 40%. I think that's fair. They're both confident they're going to win the fight. So they could do something like that. But I just think what makes more sense. I think all these stuff that 60 to the winner, 40. I just don't think that work. I don't think fighters work like that. When it comes to business, I think although they say on top, yeah, we're confident of winning and we're going to win the fight, I don't really think they believe that. I don't think they believe they're definitely going to win. There's always a fear of losing in there. Otherwise, they would do splits like that. Even though 40% is still going to be a lot of money, but I think Errol Spence just wants to be guaranteed 60%. But I just don't think that's fair. I think Terence Crawford deserves 50-50 in that fight. I think this is a fight, like I said before. I don't think profile-wise, I do think Errol Spence is a little bit bigger, but I think Crawford's accomplished more. So I do think I think it's a 50-50 split as far as I'm concerned. I don't think either of them deserve a bigger split. I don't think Errol Spence, like I said, I think he's a unified champion, but I think Crawford's a welterweight champion. He's a former undisputed 140-pound champion, and he's a 135-pound champion. So I don't see how anyone can make a case for Errol Spence having achieved more than Crawford. But I can see how you can make a case for Errol Spence being the bigger name, bigger star. When you look at both of these guys' social media platforms, they both got a similar number of followers. It's not like Errol Spence has got crazy amount of followers on social media. Now, has he done more numbers? Yes, he's been on pay-per-view more. But again, you've got to look at who he's been fighting as well. You know, he's been able to fight Mikey Garcia, who's a lightweight, who had a very big audience himself. Errol Spence didn't sell that pay-per-view himself. Was the fight with Sean Porter on pay-per-view? Possibly. But again, Sean Porter was a credible opponent and a well-known fighter. And then now he's fighting Danny Garcia, who's also a very well-known name in America. You know, the only two fighters that Terence Crawford has faced that had quite a big name. I think the Postal, I don't think Postal should have been pay-per-view, but I think the only other one was Khan, right? And that did, what, 150, 160,000 pay-per-view buys. But you've got to realize Amir Khan was at the end of his career, you know, when he fought Terence Crawford. Yeah, Amir is a massive name. Even in America, he made his name in America. He's a big name. But you've got to realize that Amir has been very inactive. He hadn't fought for a while. So I think, personally, I think it's not Terence Crawford's fault. I think the guys that he's fought unfortunately, apart from Khan, and that was a long while ago, 6-7 years ago, Khan was quite a big name in America. But apart from that, you know, when Amir fought Terence Crawford, he wasn't that name. He was 7-8 years prior. So I don't really think Terence Crawford has had the opportunity, whereas I think Errol Spence has had more names that could sell more, like Mikey, for example. But Mikey was a lightweight and wasn't a legitimate welterweight. And I think Errol Spence made a name out of that, because I think that fight sold a lot of it. A lot of the pay-per-views that were sold were a lot down to Mikey in that fight. And the Sean Porter pay-per-view, what did that do in terms of numbers? You know, was that on pay-per-view? I'm not sure if it was. What did that do in terms of numbers? Right? What's this Danny Garcia fight going to do in terms of numbers? So these are all things that we have to look into. You know, we keep saying Errol Spence is a bigger star. Yeah, he may be on pay-per-view, but what's the numbers? We know that the Mikey Garcia fight isn't one to gorge the pay-per-view, because Mikey Garcia has a huge fan base himself. Right? It's when Errol Spence is selling the pay-per-view himself. Would Errol Spence have fought a compo on pay-per-view? Would Errol Spence fight Lamont Peterson on pay-per-view, or someone else that, you know, where he'd be the main attraction, him selling the fight? Because let's not forget, Danny Garcia is bringing a lot to the table. He's got a huge fan base as well. So this is what I'm trying to say, that you've got to really look. Sometimes it's your dance partner that's able for you to sell the pay-per-views. And Terence Crawford, unfortunately, hasn't had those dance partners. So I think you know, Spence is just lucky that he's got a lot of fighters with the PBC. But I just think that's a 50-50 fight. And I don't think the fight will happen. I don't think Terence Crawford will fight Errol Spence if Errol Spence doesn't agree to a 50-50 split. So there's a great chance that fight may never happen. I think Errol Spence, if he doesn't lower his ego, I can't see that fight happening, because I think Crawford means it. When Crawford says it's a 50-50 split or nothing, Crawford means that. Crawford ain't playing. Crawford's not messing around or to negotiate. He's not going to take anything less than a 50-50 with Errol Spence. Simple as that. I think he'd be willing to do that with Manny Pacquiao, just because Manny Pacquiao's a legend. And I think just to get the fight with Manny Pacquiao, people would be willing to do that. And you know that Manny Pacquiao's the man. It's just a bit like Floyd Mayweather. I think when Floyd Mayweather was fighting, everybody would give in to his demands because they know he's a legend and just wanted to get a fight with him, right? And I think Terence Crawford knows that although we get paid well for Pacquiao, it's the opportunity, it's the fact that by beating Pacquiao, it takes Crawford to another level. And Crawford understands that. But I just think Spence shouldn't be too greedy when it comes to negotiations between Spence and Crawford, because I think, for me, that's a 50-50 fight. Looking at it, I don't think either of them deserve a bigger chunk of the pie. I don't think either of them. I don't think you can say conclusively that either one's achieved more and a bigger name. You know. So I don't see it that way. It's like, let's take an example here in Britain. For example, there was Khan and Brook, right? Brook was willing to concede the highest split to Amir Khan because he knew that Amir Khan was the bigger name, he had achieved more, and he was the bigger name commercially. So Brook was willing to give in, and I think rightfully so, because I think he realized that Khan was the bigger name globally, and he had also achieved a lot more than Kell Brook. So I think Brook understood that, and he was willing to concede and give Khan the bigger slice of the cake. There was also problems in the negotiations there as well, in terms of bigger slice. I think it also came down to, I don't think Amir Khan really wanted to fight Kell Brook and give Kell Brook I think it came down to the fact that there was a fear of losing, and also he didn't want to give Kell Brook a payday because he didn't like him. I think with this Spence Crawford situation, I don't think there's general hate there. I think they both like one another. I think it's just business, but like I said, I think Crawford's a real dude. I don't think Crawford's going to be willing to take 50, anything less than 50, 50-50. I think Manny Pacquiao's the only guy where Terence Crawford will be willing to drop his ego and take less. But that's because that's Manny Pacquiao, who wouldn't, just to share the ring with Pacquiao and get an opportunity to beat him and then, move on. I think Crawford would be willing to do that, but I can't see Crawford doing that with Spence. Just because I don't think he rates Spence like that. I don't think he just thinks Spence deserves that kind of respect where he should be taking a smaller split. And I think it's rightfully so. I understand where Crawford's coming from. I totally understand where Crawford's coming from. Why should he give in to Spence? He feels that I've achieved more than Spence. You know, so and what you people got to understand is Crawford's not earning small money. Crawford's earning what, 4 to 6 million every fight he fights with Top Rank. That's not small change. That's very comfortable. Just imagine if he has 10 fights like that. He makes 40 to 60 million dollars. That's not chump change. That's a lot of money, right? And eventually he knows he's going to get a fight with Pacquiao, going to get a fight with Spence, which is probably going to earn him between 10 to 15 million dollars. So he knows that his time's coming if he keeps winning. And in the meantime, while he's waiting for that big fight, he's getting paid between 4 to 6 million dollars. So he's becoming very rich at the same time. So I think the Pacquiao fight's more realistic. If Pacquiao wants to fight Terence Crawford, that is. Pacquiao might want to fight Conor McGregor. He may want to go down a different path, fight Mikey Garcia. So I don't think the Errol Spence's fight's going to happen unless they can iron this out. And I think Errol Spence has got an ego where he thinks he deserves the highest split and he deserves the 60%. And I don't think Terence Crawford is gonna give in to that. So I think there's more chance of the Pacquiao fight happening just because I think Terence Crawford will be willing to take a smaller split. And I think all of them would be willing to take a smaller split. But that's because it's Manny Pacquiao. I don't think Terence Crawford in his mind thinks that I'm willing to take a smaller split with Pacquiao because it's Pacquiao. I'm not willing to take a smaller split with a guy that I think I've achieved more than. And I totally get where Crawford's coming from. I'm not sure. I think it should be a 50-50 split, personally. I don't think it will be. I don't think initially it will be, but I think eventually the fight will get to a point where I think 50-50 will be how this fight gets done. And I think in the end, I think both heads will be bumped together and eventually they'll accept a 50-50 deal, which happens with most big fights. Look, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Both guys, you know, firstly, Joshua and his camp thought they were the big shot and they were this, they were that. Now, eventually, they've taken a 50-50 split because Tyson Fury wasn't going to take anything less than 50-50. And like Tyson Fury said, I'm a fair man, but I'm not taking 60-40 against Joshua. I'm just not doing it. You know, so I think they've agreed a deal there, but that was because no one was greedy and everybody accepted where they were. They accepted in order for the fight to happen, this is the deal that needs to happen. I think Errol Spence and Terence Crawford need to understand that as well. Look, Joshua and Fury, if they can get it on, and their fight's worth financially a lot more than Spence and Crawford. If they can agree a financial deal, then these two should be able to. And we're talking big money there, right? Don't stop yourself earning millions for 1 or 2 million swing here and there. You know, I just don't feel Spence should be greedy. I think he should just say, you know what? Because I think Crawford said, unless it's 60-40 in my favor, the fight's not happening. But I think he would take 50-50. I just think he's thinking that, hang on a minute, hell does he think he is? I've achieved more. I should be getting the bigger split. But I think Terence Crawford's more of the mindset that he'll take 50-50. I think Errol Spence has kind of got his ego in the way at the minute, and he thinks, no, I should be getting 60-40 because I'm the bigger star. You know, but I don't see it that way. I don't see it that way. I think both of them should get I think they should get an equal split, just because they both need each other for their biggest payday. They both need each other. You listen, Terence Crawford could say, I could fight Pacquiao. You know, Errol Spence could say, I could fight Pacquiao. But at the end of the day, they, apart from Pacquiao, their biggest payday is each other. So I think it's a 50-50 split. Personally, I think it's a great fight, and I think it's a fight that should happen. And I think they should bump their heads together. But I think there's more chance the Pacquiao fight happens with Terence Crawford than the Errol Spence fight, just because of all the reasons I've just said. What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in my next video. Guys, make sure to hit the like button, smash that like button. It really helps my channel. It really helps the algorithm. It really helps me grow. So make sure to smash that like button. See you guys in the next video. Peace.